Hello there, namaste. So I watched Kabir Singh a little while ago, and it's been a while since I did a review and, any of that. So I thought I'd try something new this time. And I gotta say, this movie is amazing with how bad it is. This reminds me of like Dirty Harry or The French Connection, those main characters who you absolutely despise. The ones who you're cheering for, but at the same time, they're awful human beings. Absolutely awful human beings. So Kabir Singh, they start you off with like the worst he could possibly be. He is taking advantage of women. He literally sees them as nothing but objects. They're absolute. It's absolutely disgusting. And I gotta say, this actor does an amazing job. Absolutely phenomenal job in this film. Because from the moment he's on screen, I absolutely despise him. He's literally taking advantage of a woman who's getting married, who's in the middle, engaged, and he's taking advantage of her because he sees her as nothing but an object. He's the guy that you absolutely want nothing to do with. And it's disgusting because immediately what the director, I hope this is what the director was trying to show, that he's an awful human being. The problem is you kind of sympathize with them because they let you know in the beginning that something led him to this point. Something happened to him. And it goes back to when he was in college. And he's an athlete. He's top notch. And this movie centers around him. He is the sole focal point. Why? Because this movie is so well done, nothing else matters. The woman he claims to love doesn't matter. Everything. This movie does an amazing job, phenomenal job. So they have this soccer sequence where he's literally top tier, best athlete, and then he gets in a fight because they disrespect him, and he literally goes to see the dean, and says he's gonna leave. He's gonna leave the school because he doesn't matter to him. It's not important to him. He doesn't care. And the entire time you know that, oh my gosh, that he's such a self-centered person. And what happens? As he's leaving, he goes back on his word because there happens to be a woman who appears there. Happens to be a woman who starts going to this school. Literally, she's a freshman in college. Here is someone who owns the entire school. And this is the point that you have to stay focused on. This point right here. This girl just wants to do her education. This girl went to school to learn. And Kabir Singh literally does not care about her. And I know this is supposed to be a romance story. I know this is a movie about obsession, but that's it. It's obsession, and only one-sided obsession. This movie's about Kabir Singh's obsession. And this movie does an amazing job with it because throughout the entire film, not until one scene, do you ever truly see a smile on her face because she doesn't matter. She is not important. And that's what I think is really artistically done about this movie, because the entire time it's about what Kabir Singh wants. It's about what he sees as his right. It's about what he can do for her. It's not about anything about her. Never once does he actually have a heart-to-heart conversation with her. He even puts her in a situation, and anyone who's been in like domestic violence situations, anyone who's been in kind of a power struggle, what's one of the one things? It sounds very derogatory and things to say this, but women, if they feel powerless, if they have the option to sleep with someone, to take power and feel control, the first time you actually see a smile on her face is when she sleeps with him. Because she literally doesn't have an option. Everything that happens. I mean, there is a scene that I absolutely loved because he was trying to protect her from being, covered. Like, okay, so it was the holly, the whole festival of colors, all that. And he basically told everyone in the school they can't touch her. She needs to be pristine and clear. The person he got in a fight with during the football game, guess what? He shows up, covers her in color, and then he shows up and beats up the guy. He did that not for her sake. If it was for her, he would have talked to her. He would have comforted her. All he did was go take a shower. She got on the back of his bike. They drove to the opposing college. He beat up the person with his hands. Well, even though he was carrying a bat, he beat him up with his hands to show his strength. And that entire sequence, not once did he care. I mean, I felt like, oh my gosh, that's such a good thing he did. I felt victim to it. I honestly fell victim to it because I'm not supposed to feel that way. It was showing my own problems as a male, thinking that that's the right thing to do because instinctively we want to protect. Instinctively, if we care for someone, we want to do what's right. But the problem is that what she wanted? Did she want that? We don't know because they never actually explain it. They have him beat up that football player from the opposing college because he celebrated Holly seeing someone who was wearing nothing but clean white linens and just covered her. I mean, that's the case. If I walked out pristine clean, I know I would get showered in color. It's my own fault. Now, if I was wearing black, I would still get, but I wouldn't get as covered as if I was wearing white. So in the end, whose fault is it? So, but it's insane that this movie really does point out the flaws of it because it doubles down, really does triple down on how bad it is, how bad of a human being Kabir Singh is. Because eventually he gets out of college and she begs him not to go. Oh, here's the sleeping situation. The first time you see a smile on her face is when she finally got control because she initiated the whole thing. Because if you feel trapped, you're going to try to do something to make you feel powerful, especially when you're in prison. She's a prisoner of this guy. She has no free will of her own. No free will. He claims to love her. He claims all this, but he's obsessed with her. Absolutely obsessed. And I know people will get mad at me for saying this because he focused on her. He's committed to her. Even when he started sleeping around with these thousands of other women, he only thought of her. But that doesn't change the fact that he never cared to ask her what she wanted. She was forced into the situation. She had no say at all. She just had to do what he wanted. Oh, and then it basically starts going to the future, back and forth a bit. And every time they go to the present, she's not there. The woman he fell in love with, the woman he obsessed over, all that stuff, she's not present. So she's the reason why he's so messed up. And again, this goes into the flaw that you're trying to justify your ill intents due to how you were treated. And I gotta say, I do understand that. I have seen firsthand what can happen to a man when they get cheated on, when they are lied to. I have seen firsthand, and it is gut-wrenching. I could see a prosperous life get completely torn down and them fall to bad habits, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, and it can even be to seeing women as nothing but objects. But at the same time, that doesn't justify your actions. That doesn't justify the fact that he did all this. Even if all that stuff, whether he was cheated on, whether all that, which wasn't the case, it doesn't justify any of his actions as an adult, taking advantage of women, seeing them as nothing but objects. It doesn't justify his drug use. But yeah, it goes to the fact where he finally leaves college, going to do his like master's or something. It was a few weeks ago when I saw it, but he goes off to do his master's or something, and she begs him to wait a week. Don't leave so early. Stay with me. Stay with me. And what does he do? He raises his voice and yells at her. I think he actually hits her too. I don't want to go see the scene again because he didn't care what she had to say. Oh, I bought the tickets already. How dare you? I'm going to be wasting. It's like, okay, yes, you can change the date of tickets. Yes, there might be a loss on some finances. Yes, when you deal with plane tickets, it is an absolute hassle. But you could have at least talked to her, heard her out, but he doesn't care about her. This film is so centered around the male character because nobody else in his world matters. Even his friends don't matter. And his friends become enablers because he's just a huge problem, an absolute problem. But yeah, he's finally about halfway through the film, it gets to the point where he's going to meet the woman he loves family. He's going to meet the woman he loves family. They don't approve. They don't approve. And the thing that gets me in this film is the fact that everything that goes wrong, which led him down the path of 8 months of debauchery, was his own doing. So he meets the family. The family doesn't approve. He claims to love her, claims all this stuff, but they don't hear him out. And that's the thing. If you find out that your daughter had been with a man for about 5 years without you knowing, he shows up at your doorstep, and it was all since she was a freshman in college, basically taking advantage of her at a young age when she had no power of her own. As a father, how would you be? Yes, I felt that the father was going a little far, but at the same time, if that was my daughter, bring a bat and beat him up. That's just what I'd be thinking, because it's just like, how dare you do this to my daughter without coming to us, the fact that she couldn't talk to us about this, a lot of stuff, a lot of things come to mind, and it's absolutely aggravating, because what does he do? He walks out and gives her 6 hours, to figure out what she wants. Yes, he meets the family once, he comes back again later when she asks him to, and that's when he basically gives his ultimatum. Why? Because it has nothing to do with her. It has absolutely nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with Kabir. Kabir is the king of all, and she's just an accessory of his, and he doesn't have to care what she's dealing with. She doesn't have to care about the inner family politics. He doesn't have to care about all that. Why? Because, well, that doesn't matter to him. She belongs to him, so she should stay with it. It's just the mindset of Kabir Singh is absolutely monstrous. And I love it because the actor portrays it so... It seems as if it's supposed to be normal, and it's not. That's the thing. I think a lot of people think that this should be the norm. Kabir Singh should be how men should be. No, that is not how men should be. If anything, I hope the director is on my side with this. I hope he was creating something that was more about the toxicity of obsession. The fact that, sure, he loves her, but where is she doesn't have a say in any of this. She doesn't. Oh. But yeah, he basically gives her 6 hours to come and get him and tell him. And guess what? During this hour of this period of 6 hours, he ODs. He ODs on morphine. Oh yeah, they sleep together one last time before he separates. But yeah, his brother's engagement party. His brother's getting married. It's supposed to be a happy celebration. He's been drinking a ton of alcohol, goes upstairs, injects himself with morphine, and ends up in a coma for 2 days. He gave the woman he loves a 6-hour period, and he couldn't even wait that long. Why? Because she should have returned to him immediately. It has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with her family. It has everything to do with him. And it's absolutely insane. And when he finally comes to, he goes to the wedding because the family had picked someone for her a long time ago. It was something that was arranged. That was the inter-family politics that he refused to listen to. And if he would have stuck it out, would have talked with them, maybe they could have come to an understanding. But no, she ends up getting married to someone else. And he ends up in the coma. Ends up in a coma. Of course, he wet himself. He has no control over his bodily functions because he can't wake up. This was the scene that shows that there's something absolutely wrong with him. It was absolutely amazingly well done. The cinematography of this movie was so good. The character, the acting, I gotta say, is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The fact that I despised him in every single scene, and the scene where I was on his side, I realized I was guilty for being wrong with that. I was absolutely wrong. Sure, it feels like it was the right choice, but the right choice is to talk to her. This is the whole Holly scene. But yeah, he puts himself in a coma. She ends up getting married, and it's just absolutely insane. The fact that he goes to the wedding, starts a fight with the whole thing, and his friend, of course, who is a massive enabler, threatens one of the elders. And that's another huge red flag. Another huge red flag. It's just absolutely aggravating. And then you know how we got to now. How we got to the situation we're in. He ends up finding another person who happens to be an actress, who happens to be successful, and then she wants more than just being an object for him to use. She wants more, and then he leaves her. It's just all this little stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, which is all his fault. It's only been 8 months since this incident, or 6 to 8 months since this incident when the movie starts. He's a doctor, but he's drugged up and drunk off his mind. He's a surgeon, and he's drunk and high when he does all his operations. It's absolutely disgusting. And the fact that he tries to say that he tries to always be professional, that's not professional. If you actually cared about your patients, you would sober up before doing it. Yes, you may hate yourself once you sober up. Yes, but the problem is you need to obviously deal with your issues and the fact that he hid behind everything. His family ends up letting him go after he's because it turns out that he saved someone's life when he's drugged up. Yeah, this is the actress that he ended up getting with, and she wanted more. He didn't want it. Because it was just like, oh, I have this bad. This is the only thing I want. And literally goes, when he meets her, he tells her exactly what he wants. No, wait, that's not the actress, but whatever. But oh my gosh, he ends up getting drugged out of his mind and helping a patient because he gets called in on his day off, even though on his days off, that's when he ODs, he does too much where he can't even think straight, and then has the nurses perform the surgery. Sure, it was a success, but if something goes wrong, he can't do anything. And he couldn't say he couldn't come in. There's just so many things about this movie that are absolutely angering. There is no justification for Kabir Singh. There is nothing good about him as a character. Even when we go to the past, we realize that he's always been a self-centered jerk. The fact that he had his heart broken due to his own actions just made him worse. And yes, it was all due to his own actions, because if he would have listened to her, nothing would have happened. But yeah, this movie's phenomenal in how it does it all. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is when the actress didn't want to deal with him anymore. This is when he had pushed... this is when... Sorry, I needed a breather. Yeah, this is when the actress wanted more from him. She said that she loved him. It's just like... And then, of course, that's the red flag for him. He doesn't deal with that. He just wants a piece of meat that he can do whenever he wants. It's absolutely disgusting. No man should see this as a role model. This is absolutely disturbing. Actor, again, I gotta praise him for his work because it disgusts me. It disgusts me. And he did a good job disgusting me. Disgusting me. Yeah. Yeah, and this is basically after he's found OD'd in the surgical room. He collapsed in the surgical room. And then he loses his job. He ends up going on, his family pushes him to go on vacation after he comes clean about everything. He admits to being drugged out of his mind. He admits to being drunk. And then he claims that all of them were. And he goes like, I'm a great doctor. I'm not going to have you talk bad about me. Dude, you just insulted yourself there. You claim to be a great doctor, yet you obviously never cared about your patients, yet he cares about his patients. It's a very weird situation. The fact, because that's the thing, a lot of people who are like that make arguments for themselves as to why they're like that, as to why they get drunk, as to why they're coked out of their minds, as to why it's all justifiable. It's not, but in their minds it is. And it's so well how the movie does it. Absolutely well done. I gotta say, absolutely well done. But yeah, he ends up being let go, losing his license for I think 5 years, and then his family welcomes him back because he got kicked out of the house after everything with the spouse, and ends up finding the woman that he loved once before in a park, and she's pregnant, about to burst. Absolutely about to burst. And of course, that's when he realized he loves her and needs her in his life. He returns to go visit her, returns to absolutely get her back. And the sad part is, it's a great ending. It's an absolutely great ending. I love this ending. This ending is perfect. Because even though she was taken advantage of, even though she found happiness in him, somehow, she found happiness in him. She got pregnant. She ran away the night of the wedding, was going to return to him, and found out she was pregnant, found out he had moved on, and just stayed by herself. Funny thing is, it was his child. It was just absolutely insane. This movie is absolutely phenomenal. Because I still hate Kabir Singh. I still hate Kabir Singh. But to have a movie where I absolutely hate the main character, but I'm so happy at the end. Now that I gotta say, I gotta give it to Indian cinema, because it does this to me all the time. Like, I'll hate someone, or I'll hate the beginning of a film, and then near the end, I'll absolutely love it. Or it'll flip it around where I love the majority of the film, and at the very end, I'm like, no. And then I'm pissed off for the review because but this one, oh my gosh. Even now, it's absolutely disgusting. I hate Kabir Singh. I hate him. I hate him. He's an absolutely terrible human being. Not an ideal male. This is like a movie where you see the guy and you realize all the signs to stay away from someone like this. At least that's how I would see this film as. It's like, you show this to your daughters and go like, that's the person you stay away from. Anyone like that, you stay away from them. You call the cops on them. You call the cops on them. That's how I'd see it. Because he is such a terrible human being. Such a self-centered human being. It has nothing to do with anyone else around him. And his best friend enables his actions. Always, constantly, even tries to set up his own sister with him. Someone who doesn't care about anyone. I gotta say, this movie absolutely worked. Absolutely worked. It's rare for me to watch a movie where I despise the character so much. And he is literally the only character. And it works in this film because nobody else matters to him. Nobody else matters to him. Everyone else is an accessory to him. Everyone else is supposed to help prop him up. It has nothing to do with him. Even the woman he claims to love is for him, not for her. Because you can tell by how he dealt with the whole meeting the family, meeting the parents, because he didn't care. Because in his mind, it's like, this should already be done. It's like, no, talking to a family isn't as easy as just being like, oh, me and her, she belongs to me. That's not how it works. But yeah, this movie, absolutely amazing for how absolutely awful the main character is. And I gotta give it to the main actor. Absolutely stunning performance. Absolutely. I gotta say, this is a movie I'll never rewatch because of how good he is. This is like the acting of like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, who honestly, it would be hard. It's hard for him to find other careers where you literally play a role so well that it's disgusting for anyone to identify you with anything else. Yes, sure, he has other work. Yes, he's a better actor than he's obviously an amazing actor because of this. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this film. This film, I love it, but I despise it at the same time. It's a movie I don't think I could stomach watching again because I can't see. I couldn't even make friends with someone like this because I'm the type of person who would be honest with them about his actions. And yes, his enabling friend did try to be honest with him. But the problem is, there's only so far you can go with a person like this before you have to close the door on them and let them wander off on their own. But yeah, this movie, absolutely good, but bad. Thank y'all for watching. Let me know what you thought of doing it this way. I don't know how I ended up editing it. I know I don't like taking breaks, but I ended up having a long pause in between. I try to give everything off of my head like immediately. I like doing that. I feel like it's a lot more authentic than me, staging a script. I like saying what's on my mind. And hopefully that comes across naturally and not authoritarian or whatever, because good movie. Thank y'all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles.